Okay, so again, thanks again for coming out. Really appreciate it. We're going to finish up the coaches clinic today with some advanced system stuff. We'll talk about defensive systems, offensive systems, but also how to kind of structure a practice and make it extraordinarily challenging, because that's what our athletes are now expecting and demanding, actually. We had feedback, obviously, from this past season, and the coaches that were not pushing their kids did not get the best feedback. They're like, our kids need to be pushed. That's why we sign up. This is not a rec program. We want our kids to be pushed. We want them to be held accountable for things too. Okay, so and the coaches that did that got really good reviews. We'll talk about how to structure a practice, and then I'll actually implement a practice once my kids get it. You guys can see that. You can stick around for that part if you want. If not, no big deal, but you'll kind of see what it looks like. And the kids that we'll work with this afternoon are fall league kids. And we talked about this earlier, that these are not the top tier kids. These are kids that there's a few of those in there, but there are also kids that, you know what, they're all right, and they like volleyball. They're not super committed to it, but they really like it. They want to be here and have some fun. And the team that you'll see is kind of a mixture of that. Some that are really, really good, and some that are here. So we'll talk about that a little bit toward the end. First and foremost, I want to thank again our coaches that have coached not only this year, but last year and fall league. It's a big deal. It's a great promoter for us, and it really helps us build our program. We went down to M1 this past Monday, not this Monday, the Monday before, right? You guys, it wasn't close. This past Monday? It was not close. When my team played them, they might have scored 4 points in 45 minutes. It was an absolute drubbing. And it was their 8th grade team versus our 8th, 7th team, and then Rita's team played them, and she killed them too. I don't remember if it was 4 points, it might have been 6. So, but it was really, really good. And I know Coach Pam's team played them in the league that we play in. All of our teams have beaten all their teams in the league, and I think our team is still undefeated versus Northern Lights teams. Yes, we like that kind of stuff. It's fun. So thank you very much for coaches that have coached fall league this year and previous years. It's a big deal. It really helps our program a ton. So we'd love to have all of you guys do it, but next year we're going to structure that a little differently too, as far as pay. You're going to get paid more. A lot more, like double what you got paid this year, but you only get paid double if you actually work the season too. So you do fall league, and then if you also coach that next club season, then we double your pay. So it can't be, hey, we're just going to pay a whole bunch for just doing fall league. We wanted to build through the program. So look for that next year. Fall league commitment next year is going to be different too in time. It's only going to be 4 weekends instead of 6, which it is now. And the times will be consistent on the weekend. You're either going to play from 8 to 10, or you're going to play from 10 to noon. That's it on Saturday. There will not be... Yes, we are. Yeah. We're starting a league next year with ourselves, M1, Minnesota Select, Crossfire, and 43. And that's the start of it. Okay, and we might play here on 2 courts on a Saturday. But we also have M1 and Raleigh and Crossfire's facility to use if needed. And that's why the times can stay consistent. Unlike now, fall league's brutal. You could play at 7:30 in the morning, you could start playing at 7:30 at night on a Saturday. And you won't know until the week before. So it's really difficult with your schedule. That's why we appreciate the coaches that have done it for this year and past years too. It's brutal on your schedule. So next year we're going to alleviate that a little bit. Practice once during the week. You have the 4 competitions throughout the fall, and they won't be as early either. It'll be starting later, not, hey, we practiced once, now it's time to play. We won't do that. We'll move it down the road a little bit. So, looking forward to it. Let's move into kind of the defense, or the system stuff we're going to start with today. So we talked a lot about skill before most of the other coaches got here. But now we're going to talk about kind of team systems, team offense, team defense. So first and foremost, all of our teams are going to run a 5-1 or a 6-2. We don't need to run a 4-2. All of our kids are capable of understanding and implementing a 5-1 or a 6-2. The 6-2 is easier because technically they only have to learn 3 rotations. The way we've been teaching it is really helpful. It's actually even helped some of our older players. I was working with some players in lessons that are 17-year-olds that might play for a red and black team down south. And I asked them about like what rotation they're in and like who they're supposed to worry about. They had no idea. They know where to stand on the court, and that's not okay. Like they need to understand the rules of where they can and can't go, so that as a coach we have the liberty to move people in serve receive to potentially change the offensive play that we want to run. And we want to be able to do that. The only way we can do this if the kids understand it. The system that I've been using for the past 2 years now is the alphabet. It's really easy. So, left front, you are capital A, then we have capital B and capital C. You must always, always, always stay in alphabetical order by case. Makes sense. Then there's never any overlapping. Because we all understand the overlapping the kids, and they do not get overlapping at all. Overlapping what? Like, they have no idea. Then they think they have to stay in this little box over here. Well, that's not the case either. Just stay in alphabetical order by case. So we have the uppercase letters, which make sense, that are closer to the net. Capital A, capital B, capital C. Lowercase a, lowercase b, lowercase c. Stay in alphabetical order. That's it. Then the only other part is the uppercase letter must always be closer to the net than their lowercase letter. And then you never have to worry about overlapping ever again if they understand that. So we have uppercase A, lowercase a. Yep, they can't be on the other side of each other. And the kids, like, they get it. They understand the alphabet. Hopefully they do by the time they're in 5th grade. They understand the alphabet. And some of the 18s, if they haven't gotten it by then, they're not going to get it at all. So, use the alphabet with them. It makes a lot of sense. That's a different way to think about it, Kylie, yes?
Yeah.
Makes more sense or less sense, or?
Makes sense.
Makes sense, yeah. Just, and that's the thing. We wanted to make simple sense to the kids. Take something that's very abstract for them, like overlapping, rotating, switching. Oh, all these different positions I'm supposed to be on the court. Well, in serve receive, we just stay in alphabetical order. So you rotate, guess what? Now that's capital A again, capital B, capital C. Rotate again, guess what? Capital A, capital B, capital C. Those things never move. Okay, so that's how we're encouraging all of our coaches to start introducing their different systems. So a 5-1, obviously 5 hitters, 1 center. 6-2, 6 hitters, 2 centers. Sometimes center goes through the front row, sometimes we sub them in and out. Okay. The 6-2 is easier to explain to the little kids because they only have to learn rotations 1, 2, and 3. They don't have to learn 4, 5, and 6. And the way that we teach the rotations is that when the center is in the serving position, that is rotational 1. Rotation 1, center is right there, rotation 1. Rotate once, center's here, rotation 2, rotation 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we'll teach them the rotations right away. Even the kids in fall league learn what rotation. Hey, go to rotation 2. The center runs to the right spot, everybody else can figure it out. Because our middle always leads our center around the court. So there's a middle. Well, if there's a middle there, well then there's a middle there, so we're good. That means the left side follows, so left side, we're good. Now the words that we use are very specific when we're teaching this stuff. We have a position called our lineup card position, which is what you look like on the lineup card. Go to your lineup card position. Center, right side, middle, middle, left, left. Lineup card position. Now go to a serve receive position. And that's when we talk about the alphabet, overlapping. Okay, I don't usually use that word for them. Stay in alphabetical order, we're good to go. And then there's a base position. And the reason we use these words, and they're very specific, is because I've heard some coaches use like and I might even use it before too, like a rotational base. Well, now we're using the word base in 2 different ways. There's your lineup card position, there's a serve receive position, and then there's a base defense position. So they're all completely different names. And the kids will understand it a lot quicker when you do it that way. Now for our more advanced teams, okay, we talk about different types of serve receive, which will lead always to the same place in base, but different offenses that we can run from different positions. Like, we have our middle over here, rotation 3. Center's up there, we can run off of 1 foot here. Okay, let's say that we're struggling in serve receive. We need to move this person back to pass. Move them back to pass. Now we can move over probably a little bit, and we might run a different play. We might bring her out now to show the defense where she is, and then draw attention to her and then send it somewhere else. So knowing our rotating, overlapping, switching stuff will help us with our offense tremendously. If those kids, even at the 18th, if they don't know it, we're going to struggle with it because it's going to be, I'm going to maybe call someone out on this. Kaylin, we really like you, Kaylin, but if we would have asked you to go somewhere else, we'd be like, where should I stand? Right? Like, where should I stand? Coach, where should I stand? No. It's not about where you stand. Like, go where you can go. You're going to hit a B instead. So go where you go. This is another one of my pet peeves that I want all of you coaches to change from it this year. So we're in serve receive. This team, serve receive. Ready? We've seen this, yes? Why are we blocking in serve receive? Your kids do that every now and then, don't they? Or they used to. So in serve receive, we do not block. So do not stand at the net like you're going to block the ball. Just don't do it. I see teams that do it. It's just a pet peeve because I see teams do it down at that fall league all the time. We're serving at them and they got a kid in the net like this. What are you doing? You can't block it. Maybe get in a position where you can actually make a play. So be ready, but in a skill that you're going to use, like passing. Or have them come off the net because they probably should be off the net. So fix that for me. So that was the quick introduction to rotating, overlapping, and switching. Now let's talk about an offense and why we run an offense. First of all, who's in charge of the offense in serve receive? The center. Yep, center's always in charge until the ball is served. Because then once the ball is served, the hitters simply say where they're going. Because maybe they didn't hear the center, maybe they fell down, maybe somebody got in their way. But we still have to deliver the ball to them wherever they are. So yes, setter is going to say, hey, Corey, I want you to hit a 1. Okay, and the ball, for some reason, brings you all the way into the middle of the court, and I told you to hit a 1. Well, there's no way you're going to get out there, so what do? You yell, 5, 5, 5, so I know where she's going. Yep, it's not the play the center wanted, but it's where we're going. Okay, so setter has to be in charge. If you do not have a setter that's going to be directive and tell people where to go and what to do, find a new setter. Or really work with that kid on being directive, being loud and assertive. Those are all really good things. You're not being bitchy, you are being assertive. And you are telling people where to go and what to do. You are in charge. You're the one in charge. I'm going to be supportive of that process. So, in serve receive, the setter's in charge. In transition, the hitters are always in charge. So the ball's in play, we're transitioning from basically defense to offense. Hitters are in charge. Tell them where you're going. Now, the setter might have an idea and say, hey, I think the A is open right now. Go A in transition. But ultimately, it doesn't matter that they said that because they're telling where they're going. So those things can and should occur, but ultimately the hitters are in charge once that ball is in play. Coach, you might have an idea of a free ball play that you want to run, or maybe a serve receive. I remember this happening quite a bit last year. Isabel, we're going to run 1A9, and you're going to set the 9. And Isabel runs all the way over here, because this is where the pass brought her, and she tries to chuck it back, and it's not hittable. Well, why did you do that? Well, you told me to. No. When coach gives information, it's an ideal situation. Hey, you get a good pass? Do this. I've changed the way that I speak with my athletes as far as attacking. And you guys will know this, I know you've heard me say this a ton. If the ball gets to the line, hit the line. Because kids will hear, hit the line. And then the ball's 15 feet inside, and they try to rip it down the line, and what do you know, that's where the block is. So when you're communicating with your athletes about what play is open or what you want to run on serve receive, make it clear to them, like, look, when we get a free ball and it's a good pass, run this play and set this person. Then they'll understand it a little more versus running into that situation, well, you told me to set it back. Well, you were like way over there, why would you set it back? It doesn't make a lot of sense. Because ultimately, the ball must be hittable first. Whatever play you wanted to run, if you don't deliver a hittable ball, it's not going to work. So it has to be hittable first. And if you're in a position to deliver a hittable ball on the 1, that's what you deliver. You don't attempt to make the amazing decision to set it all the way back because the defense isn't there if it's not going to be hittable. Another thing that I talked about earlier too that I want our coaches to understand is that when you get into a position like this, if you have a center that can send it all the way back by arching her back, let her do it. You guys have seen Wisconsin play recently, yes? She certainly does it. Because that decision and getting that hittable ball over there is more important than the technique she's going to use to get it there. Ideally, yes, she looks like this and she sends it all the way back. That'd be awesome. But it's not going to happen. Make that decision. If you can make it hittable, make it hittable. Back there.
So if you're splitting, so the other problem is how do you exactly select the hitter? If your middle is running a slide, you can't run it back.
Okay.
If your middle's going to control it, they're going to hit first.
Okay. So again, a different system that we're talking about. Pam asked, if my middle wants to hit a slide, how does my right side know that she's going to do that before she does it? Well, the play is going to be determined in serve receive. Okay? So if it's in transition in a 3-hitter rotation, I wouldn't have my hitter hitting a slide unless it's on a free ball play. For that simple reason, there's a hitter back there. We're not going to run back there, that's her spot. In a 3-hitter rotation, I'm going to go the other way probably, or I'm going to stay close to my center. So I guess I just make it clear with my hitters that, hey, if we're running a special play where there's a slide, like coming into your zone, well then yeah, you're going to have something else to hit. But you don't magically get to go into somebody else's zone because you feel like it. Like the outside hitter that wants to kind of, in transition, come in at a 3 when the middle's hitting an A. That one probably happens more often. So you just got to make it clear to the hitters, like, look, hey, we're going A in transition here, and the setter would communicate that so then that hitter doesn't call it. You're right, it gets a little bit tricky at times. But as long as the hitters are clear as to what play is being run, we should be good to go. So again, your setter has to be directive, and it's not just Diana that is paying attention when I'm calling, hey, Diana, you're hitting a 1. It should be the middle knowing where she's going to. Makes sense? Hey, on a free ball, we're going to run this. And everybody needs to know where everybody's going, including the libero. Because the libero's job is to cover. And the libero needs to get to the position where the quick is going to be attacked first. It makes sense. So if we're hitting an A, my libero's probably going to hang out around here. That ball's delivered and they fill in right away. If they didn't know that A was coming and they're hanging out back over here, they can't cover the A. So everyone has to pay attention to what play is being run. And ultimately, someone needs to be aggressive and hit the ball. If by some chance the center, this happens a lot on all the teams, Corey and Kylene, has the ball ever been set between the two of you? How do you know who's going to get it? I understand that, but every now and then, I specifically remember this past year a ball being delivered kind of in this area here, and you could have come up and ripped it. There's a hitter here that was kind of doing one of these. What do you do?
Well, I should probably call it and take it.
You call it really, really loud and make an aggressive move with the ball. Or the setter, or the setter can yell really loud, Kylene, Kylene! And Kylene comes in and rips it, and Caitlin gets the heck out the way. That never happened, no. Ever. Okay, so the center can be directive. I noticed, Coach Jared, it is okay to actually move people on the court. Like, push them out of the way. That was you. Okay, push them, get them out of the way. Like, you guys are in the way, move, move, move. It's okay. And encourage that. That's part of being directive. I know there might be a player on the 12s team, and at the 12s level, this might be considered being a bully. What? I know. No. We're just being directive and we're helping each other. Hey, move over a little bit. Not pushing someone down. Okay, but hey, move over. And it's okay. Like, we should encourage that. It's being directive. It's being helpful, actually. Because I know that was the intent of this person, this little 12-year-old, who the definition of bullying also implies that you have power over someone else. Yeah, this 12-year-old has power over no one, let alone herself. So how could she bully someone else? But anyways, In this case, it was that kid just needs to understand what's going on. She's helping you. Like she's helping, she's just moving you over a little bit. Because that's what you need. Yep. She pushed you a little bit. She didn't push you down. She just said, hey, move over a little bit. That's where the right spot is. Good? Okay. So yes, you can move each other around. That happens frequently in blocking. Move out. They're setting it outside. Move, get out of my way. Okay? So offensive systems, let's go back just a little bit. So we have these wonderful plans. What do we base our plans on? The defense on the other side. But what do you mean? Because there's 6 people over there. Their floor defense, their blockers, their system that they run. A little bit of everything. You're exactly correct. And that's going to depend on the age that you're coaching. So Coach Corey is going to run his offensive system probably, my guess, based on the blockers first and the floor defense second. We got to get it to go past the block, and then after that, we want to hit a shot where they're not. Okay? But at the younger age division, it's probably not that way. It might be, hey, we just need to get the ball to go to this spot every time. So we're looking at the floor defense first before we're looking at the block. In this case, we have to look at the block to see if that's open, and then how do we get it to go where we want it to go. And also, at the higher levels, we can move the block a certain way to open something else up. And all of that occurs from our positioning on the court. So an example is, I just had some athletes in again, that I taught their outside hitter how to pass out of the middle when she's in the front row. Why is that so beneficial? Anyway, read it. Your outside hitter, who's in the front row, passing out of the middle. Because she what? Yep, they forget she's in the front row because she's in a kind of back row position. They're looking for somebody in the front row over here usually or over there. This person's almost never in the front row. Okay, so now she's in the front row and she can now hit at both antennae. From over there, she cannot hit at that antenna. She can't. So she could be here and she could hit a 9. She could be here, she could hit a 1. She could be here, she could come straight in at a 5. So it completely changes your offense by moving one person in serve receive. I like this option. If you have an outside that can really control the ball and take care of the ball first, and then go hit, that's a great option to have. Because it opens up your offense tremendously, because now they have to pay attention to this person back here. And if by some chance we have a middle that's really good at hiding over here and coming off of 1 foot, it's going to be difficult for them to block. The way that we attack a block is by attacking the gaps in the block. Okay, if a team blocks inside the court, we attack the outside of the court. We move them out, then we start attacking back in again. We can shift the block one way by running all of our offense that way and then setting it somewhere else. And we usually do that based on our personnel. The wonderful teams to coach are the ones that are super balanced and we have kills anywhere. Like I can send it to the outside, they can get a kill. I can send it to the middle, they can get a kill. I can send it to the right side, they can get a kill. It's not always the case. Sometimes you're coaching a team that, you know what, really the only person that can get a kill right now is on the outside. So what I better do is I better make sure that our offense is run the other way and we set it out there. So let's say that we have Anna Weiser, okay? Anna's coming back, she's already registered. She's gonna be on the outside potentially. She's the only one that's gonna get a kill out there. So I better run my middle this way and my right side this way as well to open her up out there. So we run the defense one way and we send it somewhere else. And that's in serve receive. Now, your setter also has some cool things they can do in serve receive too. It's called suck against the flow of the game. And it's specific to serve receive. If I am running forward, the defense, because they're ready, they're in base, they're ready, they're serving. Defense is ready. Setter runs forward, middle blocker goes with them 99.9% of the time. So if the setter is running forward, she can set it back. If she's moving back, she can set it forward. Because the middle is going to follow her around. Now this only works when the defense is ready. If the defense is not ready, this is not going to work. Because they won't be following your setter around. So the times that it works, serve, receive, and free balls. Now there's the other time called transition when we're playing defense. And now that one's a little different because defensively, we're gonna dig the ball, and what were they just doing? They were attacking. And when they're attacking, hopefully they're a decent team and they're all covering. So let's say they send their outside hitter out over here, okay? Their entire team is on this side of the court. So we should send it over there as fast as possible. Now ideally, your middle knows this system and they're gonna go A every time when they block the opponent's left side. So they'll be there, they'll transition off, and they'll go A all the way over here. Because that stretches the defense. The defenders have to move the furthest. Okay, this is the other kind of setting against the flow of the game. Okay, so the first kind is serve, receive, and free ball, where the setter runs forward, sets back. Back sets forward. The other kind is when the defense is not ready, the flow of the game is going this way, we send it the other way as fast as we can. Ideally with a middle and a quick, but if that can't happen, we send it all the way out to the pin. So they have to go all the way across the court and close. Now, once we get to the elite level, like the 18s and 17s, and we establish that we can do this, then it's time to start breaking the rules. Because what your opponent will start doing, they're like, hey, they're a good team, they're gonna set it against the flow. So they cover, and they instantly start going where? All the way across the court. So that's when you can break the rules and send it back the other way. And there's nobody there. Like there's nobody there. So a lot of times in service, when you're running an offensive system, you want to establish that you're going to do something first, and then after it's established, then you change the game up. Another example. If I'm running a free ball play, let's say I'm running 1A9. And the hitter that I want to deliver the ball to is the 9. Will that play work right away? Maybe not, because we haven't established that we're going to move that blocker over to set the A. Okay, so if we set the A and it gets a kill, great. That blocker now has to come over and block this, therefore we can send it back. So we want to establish something first and then work off of it. Great coaches are actually 3 plays down the road. Now, they also keep in mind that passing breaks down and the system completely resets itself. Like, I had all these grand intentions of if we stay in system this whole time, and I can make the block go this way, and then I can send it over here, and the next play is going to be draw them over here and send it over here, and then passing breaks down. Oh, start over. 1B9, really simple. Okay, great, ball control back under control. Now we can start running stuff again and move the blockers around. So we want to establish and then do something else. It's the prime example of this is a setter who just learned how to set a crossing pattern. Okay? So the outside hitter has now learned to go from the outside, come into the middle and hit. When the middle goes outside, hits the A. Well, we would never run this play and set the 5 first. We have to establish the A, and then we can bring the hitter around. We wouldn't even call for the play until we've set it. So the first play I would run is 1A9. 1A9. I'd set the A, and then I'd bring the 5 around. I would not run 5A9 and set the A, because I don't want to show them what I'm doing next. I want them to be completely caught off guard, so I'm not going to bring that player around until it is my intention to actually set them. And the other thing about running an offense is that all the plays that you run are connected. You want to keep them connected. So I draw someone's attention over here, and I set it over there. Great, now they're looking over there. So now you have to keep their attention over there to set it somewhere else. So every play that you're going to run has to be connected. I've talked to some of the younger setters about this already, so as they come up, they're going to start to understand these concepts. I know Isabel understands it for sure. So she hopefully will not run that A5 and set the A first. Hopefully she'll run the 1, the A, the 5, set the A, and then bring the 5 around. Okay? All of them are connected. Now if I've set that 5, what could be a good play to run next? Ideas, Tina? So we drew the blocker's attention back into the middle of the court. They got beat. Matter of fact, the ball might have been hit straight down because the blockers were over there. So now they're looking in the middle of the court. So give me a good play to run. Yep, I'm going to draw my middle in. I'm going to make my middle run a B so they stay here. I'm going to send it back outside. So that's how that next play would be connected to the previous one. I might not set it there, but I'm going to draw someone right there. And as a setter, I'm also going to tell my hitters what they're doing. Go really, really loud. Yell as loud as you possibly can in the draw. It works so much better. Actually, it works phenomenally well because I have seen this play work, and we might have run it quite a few years ago, right after the rule was invented about the libero. Well, the libero is a funny jersey, right? Completely different color than everybody else. She can hit front row, but if you're in a 2-hitter rotation, you need to get out of it. Put her in the middle of the court, run her straight at the center, and make her yell really, really loud. And I guarantee the middle blocker goes, like that. They will. They are keyed up on sound and movement. They lose color in the process. Okay, and it worked. The middle went like this and hesitated for a second. Now there's this much of a hole in the block on the outside, and my outside hitter just buries it cross court. It was a decent team that I was coaching. It was the 18s at State. They're good. And of course, they're having a party afterward because they really messed with the other team. That was hilarious. So, but that will work as long as they yell really, really loud. It doesn't matter what color jersey they're wearing. Yell really loud and draw everyone's attention to you so the ball goes somewhere else. At the higher levels, at times I will tell my players not to talk. Again, I know this goes against everything that we talked about earlier in our clinic, but if I'm running some kind of trick play, I will say, hey, don't say anything because the draw is over here. I'm going to set the A. You just go A. I'll get you the ball. You're just going to come out of nowhere and hit it. I don't want you yelling really loud because I don't want the attention to be drawn over there. Okay, but again, elite level, 17s, 18s, maybe that kind of stuff. Everybody else talking really, really loud all the time. All the time. As we go through the program, we teach these kids a lot of rules that they find out when they're 17 and 18 are guidelines. Your right foot is always forward when you pass. Nope, not the case. Because at the really high level, there are going to be times where you have to do this move in order to play the ball really well, which means your left foot's forward. But at the younger levels, we're going to teach them right foot forward, right foot forward, right foot forward, and then we'll teach them how to break the rules later. But they must, just like our offense, understand and know how to implement it before they can break the rules. We have to establish that we're going to set against the flow, moving back, set it out, before that's going to work. So that was a little bit about offensive systems. Are there any questions about offensive systems? How do we attack? Here's another one that I was thinking about as I was developing stuff at the clinic today. How do we attack a team that swing blocks against us? Because it's going to happen more and more now. More and more teams are starting to swing block. How do we attack them? How do we take their advantage away from them? How I would do it is I would always make sure that I am sprinting someone inside that they have to stay with. So I might switch my middle to run a zero tempo ball. You are up in the air, so they have to pay attention to you in the middle of the court. And then I'd send it to the pin. And I'd make sure that it goes to the pin. Then, I might slow it down a little bit. I send it, but I don't send it all the way to the pin because the move that they're trained to do 90% of the time is to go all the way out. We're going to go all the way out. And maybe even if they're not trained to do it, it's what they do. They go out too far, they have a tendency to drift. So what we do is we teach the setter to start setting way inside. So we run a 3. Because if we're running a 3, I'm a swing blocker. I have a tendency to do this move and want to go all the way out. Now my outside blocker is stuck here, so I can't do the full move that I want to do. So I'm going to make sure that if I'm playing a team that swing blocks, then I move my outsider hitter in and out, and then I run a zero tempo ball so they have to commit to the middle. And that'll keep them from getting comfortable being able to do the same move outside, and the same move outside, and the same move toward the other antenna. Make sense? Against a swing blocking team, the A is not usually open. Okay, because they have a blocker standing. So the A is right here. They usually have a blocker here because they're going to swing out to the antenna. So the A is not open. So what do you run? Other option. B, there's a blocker there too. What I might run is I might run the distance between. So we call it a plus. It's a ball that's pushed over just a little bit. So it's in that gap. I can still attack the gap. It's not going to be very big. But if I have a hitter that can do it, like Myra usage, Myra can attack gaps like nobody's business. She dismantled St. Thomas on her own because of how she could fit the ball through little gaps. And she'd attack the gap, go somewhere else. Okay, so it's still possible. You have to modify to hit the different gap because there is no gap. The A is taken away. Okay, in your system, I wouldn't set the A in front of you guys. If you're standing right there, it's going to block. Done. Okay, I would attack a swing blocking system by sending it to the pin. All the way out and then moving the hitter back in. So they actually have to think about where they're going instead of just going to make this move out, just going to make this move out. Other kinds of offense. Yes?
Do you want to, wherever it fits, do you want to talk about circuit philosophy?
Yes, for sure. Let's come back to that in a second. More about offensive stuff. Well, what about blocking then? What do we do blocking? What do we teach? I'm a fan of the kids having the knowledge of both swing blocking and regular blocking. I think it takes a pretty dynamic athlete and therefore a pretty dynamic team because swing blocking is actually a team system. It is not an individual system. Everybody on the team has to be able to swing block effectively for swing blocking to work. Because you can't have one static blocker and one swing blocker next to it. It doesn't work. You're going to run into each other. Okay, so everybody on the team has to be able to swing block. Now granted, in the swing blocking system, they might static block every now and then, like on that A, but you can't have one person going to the antenna doing push, drive, slant, and the other person swing blocking because the timing is different. When you're swing blocking, usually you're kind of going at the same time as their approach. Yes? Okay. When you're static blocking, you're going to go immediately. So now there's this big gap. Also, it also matters where that block gets established. If we're swing blocking together, it's very easy for us to go together and wind up in the same spot together. If you have one static and one swing, it doesn't usually work out as well. There's going to be a gap in the block somewhere. So when we're blocking, we teach both. We teach the kids how to static block, meaning jump, slant, jump, and push, drive, slant, jump. That's one type of blocking or type of swinging where we actually swing our arms. We basically finish our approach and we block. We teach both. If you want to learn how to do both, we'll introduce them probably in our sessions for the kids. I will use the static blocking 99% of the time during club. When you get to collegiate, maybe a little different. Because you're going to have those athletes that you can do it with. Here, I'm going to have some kids that can't do it. I mean, Kaylin battled it the entire year. Yes, Kaylin has battled swing blocking the entire year, and we called her the stealth blocker. Because every now and then she'd come out of nowhere and just clamp on you. But like she battled that all year long. Because every now and then she'd swing, and then sometimes she'd push, drive, slant. So I would, in club season, encourage lots of static blocking at the higher levels. If you guys have the right team to do it, go for it. Go for it. Because there's no doubt about it that swing blocking gets you higher off the floor. It gets you higher, it gets you pressing across further. It does. Taking an approach, makes you jump higher than not taking an approach. So swing blocking, you definitely get here. And we'll teach the kids how to do both. It's just up to you individually as a coach to implement whatever system that you feel they can implement. As far as where we start blocking, what I like to use, and I talked about it earlier, is the zones on the net to tell them where to start. So that antenna is 1, that antenna is 9. It's just like the numbers of our sets. So that's 1, that's 9. Every high ball is the number in between. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's no 6. That's where the center stands. 7, 8, 9. And the blocking zones are exactly the same. I want to block in zones 3, 5, and 7. I'm probably swing blocking, or I'm shutting down their middle. You are not allowed to attack in the middle of the court. I'm going to stack all my blockers inside against you. Let's say they have a hitter that we need to shut down. Maybe it's something like this. Maybe it's, we're going to block in, 4, 5, and 9. Taking the middle away. Both of my blockers are now in front of the center. And I'm taking the middle away. She's never going to hit a B and be successful because I have 2 blockers standing right in front of her before the play even starts. If I want the ball to be delivered somewhere else, I might run this too. I'm going to stack both people there, so you send it outside. Okay? So you can tell your blockers before the play even starts, we're going to block in these zones all the time. Or hey, you know what? In transition, we're always going to make sure we have one person blocking in zone 7. Because it takes away our opponent's aim. So if I have someone in 7 right here, I have taken away the aim. We're always going to block in zone 7 in transition. As an example. No, it's okay. Questions about blocking systems. Why do we block the line? Why do we block cross? Yeah, it takes away a portion of the court. I mean, we can certainly do it at some of the higher levels based on a hitter's tendency. This person likes to hit it cross. Well, we're going to take cross away from them, forces them to hit the line. That works well at a high level. At the younger levels, they a lot of times don't know where it's going anyways. So we might as well take away a portion of the court. We're always going to block the line so our defense doesn't have to play defense there. Because they might hit it there, but they're probably going to hit it cross. Let's just take that away so we don't have to play it. And we'll just dig cross court. It's also much easier to dig cross court than it is down the line. The ball gets on you really fast when it's down the line versus cross court. All the teams that I coach, we block line. And we block line all the time, just for that reason alone. I don't want that defender to have to play that ball, and the hitters at the higher levels are capable of hitting it, so it's going to block it. Just going to block it.
You're going to put your best ball control left back.
Sorry.
Put your best ball control left back.
That's a good thing to do. Coaches, it's up to you where you put your defenders. Okay, sometimes you can have your middle back as your libero. Sometimes you can have your left back as your libero. That's completely up to you. At the 14s level, I would probably put my libero in middle back. Because most balls at the 14s level are going to be hit back there versus right there. That's like a 15, 16, 17, 18. It's like that ball. We're going to take that ball. Because that ball is probably blocked or off the block, something like that. Okay, so good question. Good question. You can put your libero wherever you want to put it. Your DS. You have a DS back there, and that's also another reason that the kids have to know how to play other positions. Just because you're a left side doesn't mean you don't know how to play middle back and right side. Because there might be eventually somebody better than you at left side. So guess what? You aren't playing left side anymore in the back row. You're going to play middle back. And she's going to dig more balls. Ellie and Kai. Right? Whoever's having a better day. Does that make sense? So we talked about blocking, offensive systems, defensive systems. Again, I'm taking away the line. There are 2 different general systems to play. There is a read defense where we're blocking a line and everybody else kind of reads where the ball is going to be hit. There is a starting point for read. But once you get to that point, then you get to read and go wherever the ball is going to go. It's not like a rotation defense where we rotate to a spot and we stay there. So in a rotation defense, usually we give the line, we block across, and our middle back rotates over to the line. It's a different system, but that one you rotate and you're there. Read, okay, we're blocking the line, middle back is gonna go that way first, opposite the ball, because the ball's most likely gonna go across, but if she sees line, she goes line. If she sees a hole in the block, she fills the hole. Okay, so read is actually more complex and it's more dependent upon what they're doing, not what we're doing. If you have a team that is not very good at seeing what's coming at them, you might want to play rotation defense. But at the same time, at that level with some of the younger teams, they usually hit it cross anyway, so you might want to play read just to stay cross court. But your offensive and defensive systems are completely up to you guys as coaches. And it should be based first and foremost on your personnel and then what's going on over there. But as to your personnel first. Questions about should I go through the responsibilities in each of those systems? Or do we have a pretty good grasp of that? Pretty good grasp? Let's go back to serve receive. Okay? So your opponent's in serve receive. We're going to serve at them. What are we looking for? What's the first thing that we're looking for? Yep, worst passer. Serve it at them all the time. Don't let up. Just keep serving at them. If they shank 5, they need to shank 6. Just keep serving it at them. That's the first thing. So we're looking for a passer that's not strong. When do we see that? We see that in warm-ups. We watch them warm up. We watch to see, maybe they don't even do a passing drill, but I can still probably kind of pick out who I might want to serve at. It might have to do with like some of their physical attributes, like they just have heavy feet. They have really heavy feet. You know what? I've seen them pass a couple times, and their left foot is always forward when they pass, and it looks like they're doing it intentionally. I'm going to serve that person every time. Because when they make a mistake, it's going behind the center. Great. That's what we want. So I'm looking at their personnel first. Who should I serve? Serve their worst passer. Okay? After that, another idea. Okay? Before that. That might be the third thing I look at. Yeah, I'm going to look for holes in the court. Okay, so I'm going to serve a bad passer first. First and foremost, bad passer. Second, if short's open, I'll serve short. If deep is open, I'll serve deep. If they're running an inferior system, I see this one all the time, down with the red and black. They run a serve receive W. Please, please, please run a serve receive W against my team. I'm going to serve it right over the short person's head every time. Because now 3 people have to communicate about that ball. And how many players do this move?
They all do.
They all do. But the ball's coming right at them, so they duck. That's not a good idea because you have actually prevented the people from behind you of seeing it. They can't see through your body. You're hiding the ball, and then all of a sudden you duck, and there the ball is. And then 2 more people have to communicate about who's going to play it. So if you ever see a W, serve right at the short person's head on either side. And it'll get them out of system really, really fast. And then spots. Okay, great. So kids have this wonderful tendency, and they would do very poorly at roulette in the casinos. I know, you're wondering where I'm going with this. So in the casinos, they put in these things, they put in boards that track the last numbers that came up. Okay, and it goes red, 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 red. So what's going to happen next? Well, people like patterns, so they think that red is going to happen next. Or maybe they don't like patterns and think black is going to happen next. But they put this up because people are always anticipating what's going to happen next, right? And coaches do this all the time. You just beat a player short. What are they thinking? Yeah, you're going to serve short again. So what do? You serve deep. So when you're serving spots, you can look for that. Hey, I served someone short and scored. Great, time to serve deep. Keep moving them back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And mix it up every now and then, just enough where you serve 2 deep in a row. Because now they can't guess anymore. They're really messed up. And you got them. Okay, so that's a great idea, serving spots. Now, then after that, you said serve front row players. Yeah, if they're all good passers back there, and you're not picking on somebody in particular, and there aren't really any spots open, serve the player that's in the front row. Make them do two things. Make them pass and then go hit. And then the last thing that I look for, let's say their ball control is really good, that doesn't work either. What do you say? Serve the center? Yeah, that'd be great. If I could hit the center every time, that'd be awesome. I'm going to serve to disrupt their offense. Okay, great. You like running a slide? I'm going to serve the ball in the zone 2 every time. Every time. Because it's going to put people over there so the slide becomes more difficult. So I'm going to serve to disrupt their offense. They have a middle that really likes to hit the A. Great. I'm going to serve between zones 3 and 4. I'm going to serve right here. So the A is somebody is going to be here to make this play, and it's going to get in their way. Or maybe I'm going to make them handle the ball. Make the middle handle the ball. Serve. Serve short. Make the middle pass. If they don't run 3s on the net, they're going to struggle with it. Our middles are usually pretty good at this because we run this drill all the time. Net to 10, net to 10, net to 10, net to 10. So they're comfortable taking this ball. Most middles are not. And it'll disrupt their offense. Not only is the pass going to be poor, they have to think about two things too. And then they're not going to be on time. Yes?
Does the program have a philosophy on where the ball is entered on the end line?
No, not at all. So what I like to do with my athletes, if I want them to attack a gap, I might tell them what direction I want attacked from. So let's say that they're in that W again. I wouldn't have my server over there serving this gap because the angle isn't right. I'll say, Izzy, move over, serve straight ahead through the gap. So they should be able to use the entire end line when they're serving. If a server is not super consistent, make them be more toward the middle of the court. Makes sense. They can miss on both sides then. Unless maybe they're a player that almost always misses to the left, well then put them over on the right. It's not like bowling where you line up on the same side where your miss is because then you go the other way. It's not like that. Okay. That's your question? So yes, they should be able to serve from wherever back there because that helps you, again, as a coach, because you can attack the other team from different angles. It is much more difficult for the ball to be served from right back down the line than the ball to be served from left back to the same spot. Because in this case, it's coming right at them, and all they need to do is pass it straight back the other way. In this case, they have to make an angle with their platform. So again, same thing over there. You're serving over there, and you're serving this way. They kind of just have to pass it straight forward. I might, if I'm serving their zone 1, I might serve this way. So this person actually has to make that angle. We haven't done this quite as much as our grand ideas, especially in fall league. Put your serving, please. Please just put your serving like over the net somewhere. It's 900 square feet. Figure it out. It's got to go in. I mean, these are pretty advanced things that we're talking about right now. Other questions? We talked a little bit about offensive systems, defensive systems, a little bit about serve receive. Let's talk about scheduling and running a practice. It has to be fast-paced. There should be short lines everywhere. Short lines. If lines. That's why, and a lot of teams, they watch us warm up and they're like, what are they doing at Fall League in particular? Where we're working in small groups of 3 or 4, and we're all hitting at the same time, versus one coach tossing the ball. Okay, we're going to get a ton more reps in, and we're going to get warm pretty fast when we're working in our groups of 3 or 4. I mean, they also did another drill in practice where they have to get through that drill in 3 minutes, twice each. So 6 swings, so 12 swings each in 3 or 4 minutes. We do that in practice, and then we go into a game and we can run them. Does that make sense? You've seen that before. So we want to make sure that when we structure of practice, that there are no lines. Or if there are lines, they're very small. If there are lines, those people should be doing something. The person that is throwing should be working on throwing. We're going to step with our left every time. We're going to throw all the way through the ball. Target. You actually have to move and catch the ball on your hairline every time. This is not ball gets passed, you watch it bounce, you walk after it. That is not what target does. Target goes and gets in position every single time. They all stay engaged in practice. Practices should be planned. I mean, every now and then I fly off my plan. Or all the time. All the time. But I do have a plan to start. Like, these are the things I want to accomplish. Now, notice I said accomplish. The kids have to accomplish drills. We don't just move on. We set a goal for the drill, they have to accomplish that goal. If they don't accomplish the goal, guess what? We're going to keep doing it until you do it. Last year, something was there. There had to have somebody there. We did cross-court pepper the entire practice for 2 practices in a row. The entire practice. Because their goal was to get 12 full approach, jump, and hit in a row. And they were not allowed to move on until they accomplished it because I knew they could. It took us 2 practices, right? 2.5. And then the 4th practice, we accomplished the drill at our 2nd ball. They finally believed they could. I knew they could all along. If I let them off the hook, that never occurs. They continue doing that drill in practice and doing that drill in practice, and it's never what it's going to be. You have to do it. I know you can do it. I'm never going to ask you to do anything you cannot do, but I will require you to do what I ask. I do believe in consequences, because consequences happen all the time in the game and in life. You do what you're capable of doing. If you don't, there's consequence. If you do what you're capable of doing and you do it, there's consequence also. It's usually called praise. They miss that part. They think that praise is something completely separate, like we talked about before. They think praise is when they're doing poorly and you're saying good job to them, which in my mind, that's not praise, that's lying. It is. And then it actually ruins trust with my athletes too. I tell them great job when they do a great job. I tell them this is what you need to do if you're not doing a great job. I'm always honest with them. Always, always, always. And sometimes they like it, and sometimes they don't. And sometimes, like Abby, she thinks I'm on her all the time, and she doesn't hear the other 7 times that I tell her good job. We talked about that earlier, about the athlete's perception of what's going on out there with their coach. Well, think about this. All right, Coach John, you're in a game, and you play, and you go up and you get a kill. I've seen this before, I've played with you. What do? You turn to your teammates and you cheer really loud, right? Do you look to your coach when you do something well? No. When do you look at your coach? When you mess up. And of course your coach is going to say, you need to be doing this. They think that's negative. It's not negative, it's just being critical, it's just coaching them. But because they don't see you jumping up and down and cheering because they're jumping up and down and cheering with their friends, they think you're being negative all the time. It's not true. It's not true. You're critical, you're coaching them, you cheer just as much as they cheer, probably. Sometimes more. I know for a fact that I cheer when my team does poorly sometimes. Maybe they execute poorly. But, you know what? Maddie, I told you to take a full approach, you need to jump, you need to hammer. Full approach, jump, hammer, out of bounds. Her head goes down, I'm cheering. Because she did exactly what I asked her to do. Now, this time, keep it in front of you, it goes down. They'll hear that one every now and then. Because again, they're looking over for feedback and you're cheering for them. But you're also being honest. You're not saying, hey, that was a good swing, because it wasn't. You're saying, hey, you did exactly what I asked you to do. Max jump, and you ripped it. Great job, keep it in front of you. So we're always going to be honest with them. What you're going to see as you start to come in at 2, you're going to see fast-paced, you're going to see structured, you're going to see goals, but you're going to also see a new minimum standard. So we have our goal, let's say for these guys, it's we're going to do cross-court pepper, And they have to get 12, jump and something. Jump and set it over, jump and tip it over, jump and hit a roll shot over, whatever. We need 12 in a row before the ball hits the floor to accomplish the drill. There's also this minimum standard that if they ever get less than 3, they're on the end line. Because that just simply means they're not focused and they're not working hard. Because the minimum standard is so low that if they're doing just those 2 things, if you're working hard, if you're paying attention, you're gonna get 3. You're gonna get 3. So we have both, and I encourage our coaches to have both in all of their practices. Have a goal that has to be accomplished, have a minimum standard too. The other way that we can structure this, as we did this all entire past season, is we have a goal and we have a time that we have to accomplish it in. You'd be surprised how fast they move. Today, they're going to get a new goal, and you'll see how fast they move.